Strongest so far.
The movie opens with a group of prisoners breaking rocks in a state prison camp. To our surprise, Rambo is one of them. He's serving time for destroying Hope's village, an act of rebellion from the events of the first film. Not long after,
Let's go.
a guard calls Rambo over. Someone wants to meet him. It turns out to be Colonel Troutman.
John, I'm sorry they sent you to such a
He apologizes for not visiting Rambo in nearly 3 years. He's here with a favor to ask.
prison camp you escaped from at 71's a target area.
A secret mission back in Vietnam. At first, Rambo refuses. The memories of Vietnam are still too raw.
The mission's successful. There may be a presidential pardon.
But Troutman explains that if Rambo completes this mission, there's a chance he'll be pardoned by the U.S. president and released early. Rambo still has 5 years left on his sentence, so he finally agrees. This time, the mission feels meaningful. Rambo is tasked with rescuing prisoners of war. Once he agrees, Troutman rushes to get the paperwork to release him. Soon, a helicopter picks Rambo up and takes him to a U.S. base in Thailand. He's welcomed by a mercenary named Eric, but Rambo doesn't say much and heads straight to meet Troutman.
Morning, John. Sir. This is Marshal Murdoch. He's in charge of special operations from Washington.
There, he's introduced to Murdoch, the man in charge of the mission. After a quick introduction, Murdoch takes Rambo to his office. As he looks through Rambo's military record, he's impressed by the long list of awards. Convinced, Murdoch gives the go-ahead for the mission. But there's a catch. Rambo is only supposed to take pictures of the prisoner camp, not get involved or confront the Vietnamese military. This order catches Rambo off guard, but he doesn't argue. He has an hour to get ready. Before heading out, Troutman takes Rambo to check out the advanced tech at the base. Rambo's surprised at how much things have changed.
Besides the monitoring devices you see here, you'll be issued every ultra-modern piece of equipment we have to ensure your safety. Rambo,
Murdoch, a bit smug, assures Rambo that all this high-tech gear will keep him safe. But Rambo calmly replies
I've always believed that the mind is the best
that the
weapon.
best weapon isn't gear, it's the human brain. Murdoch seems thrown off, maybe thinking Rambo is still haunted by the war. Troutman steps in to vouch for him, calling him his best soldier, someone who fears nothing and can endure anything. With that, Rambo gears up. He grabs his knives, weapons, and a camera for the mission. He and Troutman head to the plane. As they take off, Murdoch quietly tells Eric he's not so sure Rambo will actually pull this off. In the plane, Rambo looks tense. The thought of going back to Vietnam clearly weighs on him. He lost many friends there. Suddenly, the base radios in and tells him to get ready to jump. Rambo suits up and prepares, but his gear gets caught during the drop and gets tangled up on the way down. When Murdoch hears what happened, he immediately tells Eric to cancel the mission. But Rambo doesn't quit. He cuts himself loose and leaves his tangled gear behind.
He's out!
The next day, he pushes through the jungle, using just a compass to guide him. Luckily, his time in the war gave him a good sense of the terrain. Along the way, Rambo spots a shadowy figure. He quickly ambushes them, only to find out it's a woman named Ko Bao, Sarah in the earlier version, but the original character's name is Ko. She tells him she's actually his contact for the mission, not an enemy. Rambo trusts her, and they decide to continue together. As they walk, she asks why he was late. Rambo explains the drop didn't go as planned. Realizing the land route is too risky, Ko suggests they travel by river. At the riverbank, Rambo's surprised to see she's arranged for a pirate boat to sneak past enemy patrols. They pay the pirate captain, and off they go toward the camp. Rambo's still worried about patrol boats, but the pirate leader reassures him he's armed with a bazooka just in case. During the trip, Rambo and Ko talk.
Want to eat?
He wonders how she ended up in such a dangerous job.
My father worked for intelligence agency.
She tells him her father used to work in intelligence, but after he was killed, she stepped in to continue his work.
Maybe go America. Live the quiet life.
Rambo then shares something heavy.
I'm expendable.
He knows this mission could be his last. If things go south, no one's coming to save him. Back at the base, Troutman asks Murdoch about plans to bring Rambo back.
We don't even know if Rambo's alive.
But Murdoch shrugs it off, saying they don't even know if Rambo's still alive. They haven't heard from him. Still, Troutman pushes back, and Murdoch eventually includes him on the extraction team. After a long journey down the river, Rambo and Ko reach the prisoner camp. She tells the pirates to wait while they go ahead. They hike through the forest and finally arrive arrive at the edge of the camp. At first glance, it looks empty, so Rambo moves in for a closer look. When they reach the gate, they realize it's not abandoned after all. A woman suddenly appears, likely someone forced to work by the Vietnamese army. Rambo's main concern now is to find out if American POWs are really being held there. He quickly puts together a makeshift arrow to scout further.
But I thought you're supposed only to take pictures.
Ko reminds him that his job is just to take pictures, not interfere. But Rambo shrugs that off. To him, saving the prisoners matters more than following orders. He cuts through the fence and sneaks inside, telling Ko to stay put. Using stealth, he avoids the guards and surveys the camp, even counting how many soldiers are there. Eventually, he finds the prison area and sees the American POWs. But when he realizes they're in terrible shape, he focuses on one prisoner tied up outside and decides to rescue him first. Getting out quietly won't be easy. Patrols are everywhere, but using knives and arrows, Rambo silently takes down the guards. Just when Ko is caught by one of them and nearly executed, Rambo arrives just in time to save her. The next morning, a soldier discovers one of the guards' bodies. The alarm is raised. An intruder is in the camp. Troops fan out to find Rambo. Meanwhile, Troutman and Eric are getting ready to meet Rambo at a planned location. As Rambo, Ko, and the rescued POW, named Jack here, run through the jungle, they desperately try to stay ahead of their pursuers. They finally reach the pirate ship and jump aboard, trying to put distance between them and the soldiers. But the Vietnamese army doesn't back down. They're determined to catch them. A Vietnamese officer, Lieutenant Tay, spots footprints in the mud and leads his men straight toward them. Before long, they catch sight of Rambo. As they tried to escape by boat, Lieutenant Tay quickly radioed for backup, urging headquarters to send reinforcements and ramp up the search for Rambo. But things were about to get worse. While still aboard the ship, Rambo spotted a Vietnamese warship heading straight toward them. That's when they realized they'd been set up by the pirates. The pirate captain turned on them in an instant, slapping both Rambo and Ko for falling into his trap. But Rambo wasn't about to go down without a fight. He grabbed a knife and took out the pirates one by one. After gaining control, he told Ko and Jack to dive into the water and swim to shore. He'd stay behind to handle the warship himself. As the battle began, Rambo found himself pinned down by heavy gunfire. But then he remembered something: the bazooka on the ship. He quickly grabbed it, aimed, and fired at the enemy vessel, blowing it up in a fiery blast. Just as he was about to jump off the boat to escape, a hidden pirate who had been waiting on the ship's roof ambushed him. Ko, watching from the water, panicked. With the warship destroyed and drifting toward the pirate boat, things were about to get deadly. But Rambo fought off the attacker, got hold of the knife again, and jumped into the water seconds before the whole boat exploded behind him. Seeing Rambo alive brought huge relief to Ko and Jack. But there was no time to rest. Rambo told them they had to keep moving. Tay's soldiers were still chasing them. As they got closer to the extraction point, Rambo made the difficult decision to split up from company. Before they parted ways, she reassured him that what he had done really mattered. Meanwhile, Troutman was closing in on the pickup location, just 3 minutes away, while Rambo and Jack dashed through the rice fields, doing everything they could to stay hidden. But Lieutenant Tay had already reached high ground and ordered his men to rain mortar fire down on them. Even under such brutal fire, Rambo and Jack refused to give up. Soon, Troutman and Eric arrived in a helicopter and were shocked, but thrilled, to see that Rambo had actually saved a prisoner. Troutman quickly ordered Eric to use the chopper's heavy weapons to cover Rambo and clear a path. Eric opened fire, wiping out a number of Vietnamese troops, giving Rambo a chance to climb the hill toward them. Seeing Rambo's success, Troutman proudly radioed back the good news. But back at headquarters, Murdoch didn't celebrate. Instead, he emptied the room and gave a shocking new order.
I'm telling you to abort.
He told Eric to cancel the rescue. When Troutman heard this, he was stunned and furious. Rambo and Jack were right below the helicopter, ready to be pulled up. Just as Troutman was about to lower the rope ladder, Eric suddenly paused and began praying, leaving Troutman helpless and enraged. With no choice, and under Murdoch's command, they were forced to leave Rambo and Jack behind. As the helicopter pulled away, Vietnamese soldiers quickly surrounded the two men. Rambo, realizing the fight was over for now, dropped his weapon. From a distance, Ko watched it all unfold. She could clearly see that Rambo had just been left behind, abandoned. Back at the base, Troutman stormed in and confronted Murdoch, demanding answers. Murdoch claimed that Rambo hadn't followed orders. He was only supposed to take photos of the camp, not try to rescue anyone. Murdoch argued that if the mission leaked, it could lead to major financial fallout for the U.S. government, including possible reparations to Vietnam for damages from the war. Hearing this, Troutman was disgusted. These were men who had risked their lives for their country, and now they were being discarded like they didn't matter. But Murdoch didn't seem to care. He even kicked Troutman out of the room. As he left, Troutman warned him this decision would come back to haunt him, especially when Rambo finds out. Back in Vietnam, Rambo was captured and tied up, half submerged in a pit full of pig waste. A helicopter soon arrived, carrying a Russian military unit. Turns out, Vietnam was working closely with the Soviets. Leading the group was Lieutenant Colonel Podovsky. Using a knife, Podovsky tried to intimidate Rambo, but quickly realized this man wasn't easily scared. He ordered the Vietnamese soldiers to clean Rambo up. He planned to interrogate him personally. Later, Rambo was brought into a room, where Podovsky told him they would get the information they wanted, one way or another. If Rambo didn't talk, they'd torture it out of him. Still, Rambo stayed silent, which only made Podovsky push harder. He forced Rambo to radio the U.S. base and admit over the airwaves that he had been caught spying. Rambo refused. That's when Podovsky ordered his partner, Sergeant Yushin, to begin the torture. At the same time, Ko had sneaked into the facility disguised as a prostitute. Her mission, to save Rambo. Back in the torture room, Rambo was strapped down and electrocuted again and again, but he wouldn't break. Even when Podovsky intercepted a conversation confirming that Rambo had been deliberately abandoned on Murdoch's orders, Rambo stayed silent.
You are strong. Very strong.
Podovsky then brought in Jack, threatening to gouge his eye with a red-hot knife if Rambo didn't cooperate. But Jack, loyal and brave, shouted at Rambo not to give in, even if it meant his life. Rambo couldn't stand to watch his friends suffer. At last, he gave in and agreed to contact headquarters. Meanwhile, Ko had found where Rambo was being held and took position beneath the floorboards of the room. At first, Rambo didn't notice her, but soon enough, he realized she was there, ready to help. Even so, Rambo went ahead and made contact with headquarters, using a secret code they'd agreed on before the mission. Once the connection was made,
Read you, Lone Wolf. What is your position?
the people at HQ immediately asked for his location. But instead of answering them directly, Rambo looked into the radio
Murdoch.
and, filled with emotion, gave a warning straight to Murdoch.
I'm coming to get you.
He was coming for him. Right after delivering his threat, Rambo, with help from Sarah, launched a daring escape from the facility. The sound of gunfire quickly caught the attention of both the Vietnamese and Russian soldiers, and they rushed to check out the noise. Rambo and Sarah fought their way through, taking down anyone who got in their path. But soon they realized they were way outnumbered. To buy themselves time, they threw grenades and used sheer force to tear through the barbed wire fence. They managed to break out of the camp, but freedom wasn't guaranteed yet. Hundreds of Vietnamese and Russian troops were already swarming the forest, armed and searching. As the hours passed with no success, the soldiers brought in a helicopter with bright searchlights to scan the area. Eventually, it spotted Rambo and Sarah and fired missiles at them. Dodging explosions and sprinting through the forest, the two did everything they could to stay alive. By the time night turned to morning and the chase had dragged on with no results, the soldiers gave up and returned to camp. Sarah, feeling a wave of relief, quickly helped patch up Rambo's injured hand. Back at base, Murdoch was still unsettled. Rambo's words had clearly shaken him. Soon, Troutman showed up and demanded once again that a rescue team be sent. But Murdoch flat out refused. The argument got heated. Troutman, emotional and frustrated, even considered going alone to save Rambo. But Eric and the other hired guns stopped him, acting under Murdoch's orders. Meanwhile, deep in the jungle, Rambo was moved by how far Sarah had gone to help him. He could tell she genuinely cared. She told him she wanted to leave Vietnam with him and build a new life together in America. She promised to stand by him no matter what. Rambo, touched by her words, embraced her, and they shared a heartfelt kiss. They started making plans to escape. But just as Sarah stepped forward, tragedy struck. She was shot by Lieutenant Tay's men. Rambo, filled with shock and rage, exploded into action, tearing through the soldiers who had taken her from him. The cowardly Lieutenant Tay ran off, terrified. Rambo knelt beside Sarah, cradling her as she lay dying in his arms. With her final breath, she asked him not to forget her. After giving her a proper burial, Rambo made a decision. He wouldn't let grief stop him. Instead, he prepared for war. Armed with only a knife in his bare hands, he silently took down soldiers, one by one. Using his bow and arrows, he eliminated enemies without a sound, leaving others confused and scared. They had no idea where he was or how he kept vanishing. He was unstoppable. His movements were precise, his attacks silent. At one point, he intentionally let himself be seen, leading the troops into a trap. Rambo rushed into a nearby village, soldiers chasing after him. At the edge of the village, he stole a chicken and a can of kerosene from some locals, then ran into a thick sugarcane field. The soldiers spread out to surround him. As they searched, they found blood on the ground and followed the trail, thinking it was Rambo's. But when they reached the center of the garden, they were stunned. It wasn't Rambo's blood, it was the chicken's. And the gas canisters lying around made it clear they had walked straight into a trap. Rambo, watching from above, lit the field on fire and launched arrows tipped with explosives from the treetops. The fire spread fast. He'd already soaked the area in oil. Flames consumed everything, and enemy vehicles were destroyed in the blaze. Rambo kept moving through the plantation, taking down soldiers as the inferno raged behind him. He made his way toward the nearby waterfall, only to run into Lieutenant Tay again. Tay opened fire. When he ran out of bullets, he pulled out a handgun and kept shooting. As Rambo hid, memories of Sarah's death flashed in his mind. Fueled by rage, Rambo stepped out with his bow. Luckily, Tay's aim was off, giving Rambo a chance to strike back. In a final showdown, he wounded Tay, who tried to flee, but there was nowhere to run. Just then, Yushin appeared in a helicopter, carrying a bomb. Rambo bolted, diving into the water just as the bomb exploded. Realizing Rambo survived, Yushin ordered his men to shoot. But Rambo turned the tables again. He ambushed the attackers, overpowered them, and seized control of the helicopter. Now in control, Rambo flew straight toward the camp holding the prisoners. Without hesitation, he fired a barrage of missiles. The enemy soldiers were caught completely off guard and had no time to react. The prisoners stared in disbelief. Rambo had come back for them. His helicopter shredded the enemy defenses, and once it was safe, he landed. Rambo rushed in and freed the captives, taking out the last of the soldiers. With everyone out, he led the group and protected them as they made their way to freedom. The rescued men were overwhelmed with relief, finally seeing the chance to return home to their families. But danger still wasn't done with them. Just when it seemed the danger had passed, a Russian gunship suddenly showed up, flown by none other than Yukovsky. Frustrated and furious, Yukovsky went straight on the attack, unleashing a storm of missiles at Rambo's helicopter. Rambo, still at the controls, had no choice but to dodge the attacks instead of firing back. As they neared a small village, the freed prisoners tried to help. They managed to overpower one of Yukovsky's men. Seeing this, Yukovsky lost it and fired again at Rambo's helicopter, hitting it hard and causing smoke to billow out. But just as Yukovsky geared up for a final killing blow, Rambo's helicopter suddenly vanished. Confused and on edge, Yukovsky scanned the area, trying to locate them. After some tense searching, he finally spotted the chopper floating above the river, seemingly stranded. Thinking he had Rambo cornered, Yukovsky moved in to finish the job. But Rambo had other plans. As the enemy gunship closed in, Rambo launched a bazooka and blew Yukovsky's helicopter to pieces before it could strike. With the threat gone, Rambo kept pushing forward, flying the damaged helicopter toward U.S. headquarters in Thailand. Even though the chopper had taken a beating, Rambo skillfully managed to guide it home. As he neared base, he radioed in to alert them of the emergency. He'd just rescued a group of prisoners of war. The news brought relief and celebration for many. But Murdoch wasn't one of them. Remembering Rambo's earlier threat, he looked terrified. When Rambo landed, he didn't waste a second. He grabbed a heavy weapon and stormed toward Murdoch. On the way, he ran into Eric and didn't hold back, giving him a brutal beating. Meanwhile, medics rushed to help the rescued prisoners, offering them care and comfort after all they'd been through. Once inside, Rambo tore through the base, destroying all the high-tech equipment in sight, stoking Murdoch's panic even more. Then he kicked in the door to Murdoch's office, where a face-off began. Rambo, with a knife in hand, cornered Murdoch. As Murdoch stumbled through an explanation, Rambo grabbed him, pressing the blade dangerously close. He made it crystal clear, either Murdoch helped find and save the rest of the missing soldiers, or he wouldn't walk out alive. Then Rambo let him go and walked out without looking back. Outside, Colonel Troutman met Rambo and told him he'd be awarded a second Medal of Honor.
Should give it to them.
But Rambo refused. He said the medal should go to the real heroes, the prisoners who survived. Troutman respected that, and told Rambo he was finally free. Still, Troutman tried one more time to convince Rambo to return to the military, saying the country still needed someone like him. But Rambo stood firm. He had nothing left to fight for, his friends were all gone, and he no longer believed in the mission. As the story wound down, Troutman asked Rambo what he really wanted. Rambo's answer was simple but powerful.
And every other guy who came over here.
He wanted a world where soldiers are cared for as much as they care for their country, where their sacrifices actually matter. With that, Rambo walked away, leaving the battlefield behind. He was ready to find his own way now, beyond war and pain. And that's the end of the movie. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more exciting recaps.